Good evening, everybody, and good afternoon. Again, we continue to give God the glory and all the things He continue to bless us with each and every day. From the last ball game, I like the way that our players were playing with passion. You continue to see that, then that gives you excitement and hope, and our players are still playing up to their potential. Our players and coaches are continuing to work hard and continue to do what we need to do to get on the right track and do things in the right way for we can have a greater chance to be successful on the football field. Appreciate our great fan support we had this last ball game, the great showing there as far as our fans for the homecoming weekend. More about Monmouth. Kevin Callahan, the head coach there, has done a fantastic job there. I think he's really been the only coach there. I think it's been over 20-something years that he's been there. Solid person, great knowledge of the game. Kevin Morris, their offensive coordinator, has a well-balanced attack. The good thing about that they do from their perspective, it's kind of very balanced. They got 200 yards rushing. They average about 200 yards passing. I guess you can't get any more balanced than that. Andy Bobick, the D coordinator, the rushing defense is the part that I think really sticks out. They allow only 84 yards per game. Anytime you go under 100 yards of rushing defense, you got a good defense. Sam Dorsett, their special teams guy. This will be the first time we will face somebody what we call a pro-style punt team. So there's a few little things that we're going to have to kind of look at and adjust versus going against a spread punt. So we just make that adjustment as we go into this game. Injury report, Damian King, I would say he's questionable. We anticipate him to hopefully be able to practice here in the next day or two. So that's a good thing, an upper body injury. But we just got to see how he materializes here as the days go by each and every week. Here are really some keys that I think I kind of really looked at some things and what's been the difference as far as us losing games, winning games, and what are maybe one or two things that must happen in this game. And one of them is we need to improve in the second quarter. I looked up there. We got 81 points that we've been giving up in the second quarter from our defensive perspective. And then we've only scored 46 points in the second quarter on the offensive perspective. That's almost double. And so it looks at it and you say, well, our schools or our teams, they're adjusting maybe a little bit better than what we're adjusting in the second quarter. Usually in the second quarter, you've already had maybe 2 to 3 series, offense and defense side of the ball, so you're making adjustments. And you're either making some good adjustments or you're not making some good adjustments. So I guess that's where I'm reading that there's almost double the points being scored, that we maybe not quite making as good as the adjustment that we need to be making. So therefore we don't get so far behind or we don't make adjustments or we're having turnovers or penalties or whatever it may be. So I think that's an area we must improve on that I really want to keep a good eye on. The third quarter is somewhat similar to that, but it's not quite as big of a difference as far as the points being scored offensively and defensively. And then I think the obvious one is the turnover margin. It's no question here in the last 2 or 3 ball games where we've been in the minus area as far as turnovers. That's really has hurt us, and it's come at some crucial times, and we got to clean that up. So we're going to continue it on the defensive side. We got to continue to attack that as far as taking away the football, working on that skill, working on that craft. The same thing from the offensive perspective. We got to put both hands on the ball, quarterback, protection, receivers. We got to be on track and be on time to throw the ball on time as far as that goes. Then the last little thing before I open up to the question, I just want to address the reports of a coach is maybe making inappropriate comments to someone here involved in our last ball game. We have looked into this. We have talked to all of our coaches, people on our staff, about have they heard anybody? Have they seen anybody as far as in the ball game that made any kind of a comment that is inappropriate? And no one has heard, no one has said anything of that nature. I have never used the word that's been in question in my life. I don't use those type of words as far as myself. So we've investigated, we looked into it, and I guess if there's anything else that comes up, we'll continue to look into it. But we have looked into those things, and again, I have never used the word that's in question. Open it up to questions.
If Damian King's not able to play, looking at the slot receiver, he's been very productive in terms of making guys miss, being a reliable target. What do you want to see out of the slot guys, Cephas Reddick, DJ Stubbs, to continue that and give Buckshot a good option in the middle of the field?
Well, I think Cephas has been a tremendous asset. I think he's had a tremendous season so far in the 5-6 ball games that he's played in. Been very productive, made the catches that he's had to make. Blocks, made some good blocks when he's had to make. I don't think I think there is a little difference. You know, Damian King probably brings a little bit more to us, but we're not that far off. We have confidence as DJ Stubbs has to play. We'll put him in there too. So I think we need to just see a little bit more. Again, we've had a 1 or 2 drops in early in the games. Again, it hadn't just been the slot receivers; it's been a little bit of everybody. But I think I really feel good about the receivers. I really don't see that there's been any issues. I think the whole word comes to consistency. Stay consistent.
Coach, you start 3-0, now 3-3. How do you get your team to focus on the task at hand and block out the outside, I guess?
Well, I got some good news here today as far as our lifting today. Energy is good. Went down there and peeked in there just to see what was going on and all that. And again, everybody's ready to work. And that's all you want to do. You just come ready to work and you keep doing what you need to do it a little bit better. So our guys are ready to turn this thing around. And the only way you can do it is get better each and every day. So I don't see any concerns. Again, there's a play here and there's a play there. In these ball games that turn around. So I think that we're going to be able to do it in this week, so I don't have any problems.
Lucas Irons, after Saturday's game, said the group came out sluggish, and after a bye week, that seemed uncharacteristic for this team and the teams that you've coached here. Have you looked into what happened, why the first half came out so slow, and are you going to address coming out slow since that's been a key contributor to the 3 losses?
I don't know if I would say we came out totally sluggish in every aspect of the games. I'm going to talk about maybe these last 2 ball games that we played. I think on both sides of the ball, I think it's inconsistent on both sides. One side, you got the offense may play well in the first 2 or 3 series, vice versa, the defense doesn't play well, and so on and so forth. So I think it's really consistency on both sides of it. I can't sit here and say that the whole team was sluggish in the ball game. In the last 2 ball games that we played. I think it's just been some inconsistencies, whether it's been one series, one play. But again, I like the passion. I like the effort. When you have those things, then you always have a greater chance to overcome it. So we still got plenty of football to play, and again, we're going to take this one game at a time and get ready for Monmouth to play our best football game.
With with the bye week before the Kennesaw State game, having those extra days in there, how much did you guys specifically work on facing the option and kind of doing the install for that week? Were there extra days that you guys put in?
Oh, yeah. Like I said, I think we practiced 2 days, Tuesday and Wednesday of that bye week, and that's all we did. Then we got that extra day on Sunday. Usually on Sunday we don't do a whole lot, but that turned into a little bit more of a true practice. So you really say we got 3 extra days of working truly from the option aspect of it. So, again, we did a little bit of it even in preseason camp. We chose 1 or 2 days to do it. So that wasn't necessarily to say we wasn't prepared because we did have enough time to go over the things that we need to do. Again, it goes down a little bit of execution and again, you try to replicate it as much as you can in practice, but it's still not going to be quite the same as you are in a game. It helps when people have already played against that type of offense. Then you kind of know what the speed's going to be like. You understand how things are going to be and all that. So, they just had a good game plan. We just didn't quite execute it quite as well as we should have. And again, you got to give them the credit.
Coach, when you look at, last game, kind of started off real strong running the ball, then they kind of, made adjustments and couldn't do that. And then in the second half, were able to pass the ball real effectively. How do you balance, the run, pass, Each week it changes. I know with the game plan, but
Right.
the beginning of the season had a lot of success with the vertical passing game. Seems to have gone away the last few weeks.
Well, I think I go back to what we were talking about earlier as far as adjustments. They make adjustments, we make adjustments, and you're trying to making sure you're putting yourself in the best position to have success. And when I say that, I'm talking about our coaches, and then getting our players to execute it. So we just got to do a better job as our coaches to put our guys in a little bit better position. We're not that far off as far as getting the execution, because it's about execution. And like we said, they got coaches, they got players, and it's about making adjustments and then getting your guys to execute it right now. The next series, the next series, the next series. And again, it goes back to the same word of being consistent.
Coach, besides consistency, is there one area offensively that you would like to see the Flames perform in better this week than they have been?
I think it's just the consistency of the running game, trying to be a little bit more average. I think we've been able to run the ball, but it's always some penalty that comes up, and it goes back to consistency. But I think the biggest thing is really just being able to have a good balanced attack, being able to sustain some drives. I think probably the thing that people have made adjustments on is prevent us from having explosive plays. And I think when we have had to struggle offensively, we haven't had those explosive plays, whether it's running the ball or whether it's passing the football. So I think we got to stay consistent in making the longer drives when we have to, whether it's throwing the football, whether it's running the football. So we just got to continue to make those adjustments. And again, our coaching staff, we're working hard and trying to making sure that we can get those things done, and that's what we plan to do and hope that we can do against Monmouth.
With the run game, Carrington Mosley got the lion's share of the carries this past week. Macon got 4 carries on one drive, and Frankie Hickson got a couple carries there. Are those the 3 primary guys, or are you looking at Carrington Mosley as the guy who's going to get the predominant share of the carries moving forward?
Well, we go in the game, I'd say we probably think of 2 guys definitely going to get the majority. We may always try to put a 3rd guy in for a series, and then after that we kind of see who's hot. Right now I think Carrington Mosley, if I had to say one guy that maybe has a little edge over the other guys, it would be him, the way he's been productive. And after that, it's just a sense of what we feel of who's the next best guy to be successful. They all got their uniqueness about themselves. They all can be very, very productive, as in Hickson and Macon. So it's hard to go and play all 3 on an equal basis. That's not going to happen. But we do kind of go into the game and say we're going to play you here, these type of reps, and then we'll see who's hot and go from there.
Has Jimmy Fox pretty much won that starting corner job?
I wouldn't say right now to say he's going to start for the rest of the season. I think he's playing very, very well. We feel good about 4 people that we can play at corner. So that's very good for us and having the confidence to be able to do that. I think it's going to be important in this football game just because they're similar to maybe like our offense. They're going to throw it. They do have an outstanding receiver. A quarterback does a pretty good job of spreading the ball around. So we're going to need all those corners. But I would not say that he's definitely the starter and he's going to be there for the rest of the season. He continues, then I think week by week we make that judgment and make the call and go from there.
And Torrey Matthews, I don't believe got any offensive snaps this past week. Are you guys looking to get him involved, try to get some explosiveness from him and have special packages for him?
Don't know that yet. I guess we are still game planning. Last week we just decided to go with those 3 guys. I think there's packages that we may incorporate him in. That's kind of where we have him at this point in time. I can't sit here and say he may be a steady running back, but he will be periodically put in when the appropriate time occurs.
Coach, I know that maybe some of these guys were still on the team from 2 years ago that went up to Monmouth. But is that something that you talk about at all, the result up there last time? And do you approach this game, the preparation or even the travel or anything going into it, any routine, any differently?
Oh, we kind of talk about a little bit about the stadium and the surroundings. The players do that, but that's about it. It's just short and quick and move on. The football field and all that's the same. And you don't get caught up in the outside surroundings is kind of what we talk about. So our players, I think we got about maybe 1/3 of the team that was there this last year or 2 years ago, and I think they've chatted a little bit about it on Sunday. But Again, they've got a little unique team. We got a unique team, and the only thing that we talked about a little bit could be a little bit more windier, I guess, than what we have played in so far. It's probably just going to affect the punting, the kickoff, and the whole thing. I don't think it's going to affect really the throwing the football, but that's about it.